slowly. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And welcome everyone to our INHART e-seminar series number 10, 2020. And thank you as well to Dr. Zainal for accepting our invitation to share some insights of the sustainability agenda. And today, interestingly, as we are putting our efforts in to try and truly embrace the halal lifestyle, we are going to, as we were speaking just now, unlearn and relearn. And it's very timely to look into this about how we can use halal as transformational framework for sustainability agenda. So that's the seminar title for today. And before I invite Dr. Zainal, let me just run through his very impressive CV. So Dr. Zainal is currently, he's not new figure in sustainability, just to go through your CV. So Dr. Zainal is currently the Director of Sejahtera Center for Sustainability and Humanity at the IIUM, and also serving as Associate Professor at the Department of Political Science, Kuliah of Islamic Religious Knowledge and Human Science. And prior to this post, he served as Minister Council Education at Malaysian High Commission London. And he had also served as Deputy Director of the Centre for Leadership Training at ACAD, Higher Educational Leadership Academy of the Ministry of Education Malaysia. Dr. Zainal obtained his PhD in International Studies from Waseda University, Japan, and MA in International Relations from International University, Japan. And he also had a 1-year postdoctoral experience at UN University Institute of Advanced Studies doing research on the Multilateral Environmental Agreement. His area of academic specialization is governance and education for sustainable development. He has participated in many international workshops and conferences on the subject as both speakers, invited participants, and discussants. In his previous post as Deputy Director at ACAD, Dr. Zainal had involved in planning, organizing, delivering training programs, seminar and workshop on various higher education leadership and governance designed for the university leaders. He was also a visiting professor at Graduate School of Frontier Science, University of Tokyo, engaging in teaching and research on conceptual and organizational challenges in implementing sustainability science in higher education institutions. And his current research interests are sustainability science, education for sustainability development, and public policy analysis. So without further ado, let's hear his insights on halal as transformational framework for sustainability agenda. So the virtual space is yours, Dr. Zainal. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Yumi. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, syukur to Allah Subhanahu wa ta'ala, which keep giving us opportunity to breathe the air and live our life today. We don't know when it will end, inshallah, but let's do our best and let's treat, inshallah, every seconds that we will be spending from now until 11:30. As a moment of barakah, a moment of reflections, as what we said just now, a moment of learning, relearning, and unlearning and relearning. Yeah, thank you, INHART, for the invitations. I can see Prof. Hamzah is there. I can see Prof. Asma is there. These are all the reference points that I'm making in terms of talking about what's how to move forward, sustainability agenda, etc. Yeah. Today, I have to put a caveat that linking sustainability and halal is something that I doing for the first time. Never done this before, but this is a spirit. Yeah, this is what it means by transformational framework when we put in sustainability, because sustainability in essence is that it's something that has to be applied to all. It's not a subject of its own. Yeah, it's not another discipline. It's something that has to be serving as an approach, something that have to trigger, something that have to somehow be linked to all other traditional, conventional way of putting up discipline, the conventional or the new discipline. Yeah. So I'm taking this opportunity. I must put forward that this is our together, our collective learning point. That some people may come from very specific specializations from halal perspective, etc. Some people like me have a little experience on sustainability, and so this is where the co-constructions of learning should be happening. And this is what the actual spirit of sustainability approach. From this constructive learning, a co-construction of knowledge, then we move forward. Yeah. So that's why, and more of like from there, that knowledge has to be tested on the ground. That knowledge has to be somehow put into practice, and then only we can see the dynamics of it. Yeah. So for that, I guess hopefully don't put so much expectations on me. My CV might be sounds that way, but those are all on paper. Yeah. I can be a very different person, not really reflecting what's goes on CV. Those CV are put for promotion purpose, yeah, and not necessarily actual content that I have. Yeah. Let me share my slide. Somehow someone need to help me enable my sharing. The host need to help me, please. Thank you. While that's happening, yeah, what I'll be speaking about today is try to link, try to explore. Yeah, though the topics are halal for transformational sustainability agenda, but it works vice versa. Yeah, sustainability will be a platform, will be approached for us to mainstream halal in that context. Yeah, Dr. Yumi, I need someone to enable me to share the slide.
Yeah, Dr. Hani, can you assist Dr. Zainal? Or Dr. Nora?
So I'm so glad that we are gathering today, and so glad that so many students, postgraduate especially, join us, and also the UNGS, yeah, the UNGS students of the first year who are now taking that new subjects, sustainable development issues, policy and practice. So I'll have until 1 hour, but I'll stop at 1 hour, I guess, if I may, if I can, yeah, because I think we'd like to allocate more of discussions and putting it in perspective. And also, I will call out for my respected Sifu out there, Prof. Asma. I'll be using number of her slide. That I guess it was the same seminar, if not mistaken, Dr. Yumi. Was it the same seminar that Prof. Asma was giving last time?
The seminar series. But
yeah,
that one is a special edition.
Oh, that was the platinum level. Mine is my yeah. Mine is just discussions.
Coming up.
Okay, all right. Not yet. Who's disabled? Not yet. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Got it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I'm putting up the thing. Yeah. But hopefully not putting up Prof. Asma's slide. I got it wrongly. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim again, yeah. All right, what I'll be looking at is it's a try, it's an attempt to somehow put up halal as a transformational framework for sustainability agenda. And I put a caveat that it can go to the other side as well, yeah. Meaning that with sustainability agenda, it can be used as to serve the need to establish halal as a framework of life, as a framework that should be there, okay. I'll be talking about only two subjects, two things. Yeah, try to share the sustainability perspective, and that's where I come from, and then try to put that perspective into halal ecosystem and my little understanding what halal is about. Yeah, what halal industry, what halal practice is about. Yeah, I know halal only when we concerned about looking for food. When I was in Japan, we got to look for this. Yeah, look for that halal. It's a lot. Yeah. Interesting. I may share a bit for that experience when I was in 7 years in Japan looking for halal thing. But I must start with this, yeah. As students, as an academics at the International Islamic University, we must always be reminded and must always put into context and practice our beautiful vision that has been laid down in 1995, whereby if we put into a more specific outline, there are 7 missions that is being put there. And first one is integrated knowledge. Second one that will be emphasizing sustainable development. And then Islamization is there. Islamic moral, spiritual values, international community, intercultural dialogue, deep sense of social responsibility. Right? There are two reasons why I put this here. One is, of course, to remind us of our missions, and of our visions a bit higher. Yeah, this is our job. Yeah, whatever that we do while we are working for UIA, this is a mission. Whatever opportunity that we have, be it in teaching, be it in research, be it in community engagement, be it in administration work, this is the 7 missions. Yeah. And somehow our center is being mandated to look at the issues of sustainability. That's the first reason. The second reason is this is where we try to, as much as possible, bring back, and put forward when we talk about Islamizations. As people always say, actions always speaks louder. Yeah, and then I think I recall Prof. Asma's slide. The last one is that people will listen to you, but at the end of the day, what they take home with is the actions that comes together with that. Yeah, and I think this is a little attempt that we try to put out. That I see that Halal as a transdisciplinary platform to operationalize the 7 missions, because this is what is missing, I guess. Yeah, the showcase, the operational context of what we mean by Islamization's agenda. The obvious thing that need to be done here is that how do we prove that? How do we give evidence? How do we showcase that when we preach that Islam is preaching for integrations, Islamization, etc. When people look at us, does our word match with the actions on the ground? Which that's what people are looking at. Yeah, and maybe you can see that some points has been saying that this non-Muslim, they don't read Quran, they don't read Hadith, but they read our behavior, they read our actions, they read how beautiful we are, how dynamic we are, how professional we are. So I'm seeing Halal as a platform for us to really showcase this. So I'm very happy that when INHART called in, because I think INHART is a good showcase of transdisciplinary integrated knowledge, Islamization. INHART representing the Halal research, INHART representing the studies of Halal, really representing all 7 missions. Okay? And the third reason why I put up the 7 mission is that you will see later on that all the 7 mission is exactly what sustainability is about, except there's no reference to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But we still have the concept of ethics and values, but the God's reference is not there. Yeah, well, that's why we put up the spiritual thing. Yeah, but all the 7 missions, integrated knowledge, for example, I'm giving these introductions because it's very important to give a general framework how the 7 mission, the way I see it, is a very closely related to sustainability. Integrated knowledge, sustainability is about transdisciplinary, about interdisciplinary. So done. Integrated knowledge is done. So sustainable development is definitely. Islamization is the role of religions. Yeah, we can see now a lot of things, a lot of innovations, a lot of operations somehow detached from the soul aspect, from the value part. And this is why we need to come in. Islamic moral, spiritual values is there too. Right, so that's why we talk about SDG 18. International community, of course, yeah, sustainable development agendas, SDG agenda would not be possibly achieved without our engagement with international community. Intercultural dialogue is definitely there, right? We need to understand how the non-Muslims see the perspective on Halal, and deep sense of social responsibility. That is the ultimate, one of the ultimate, yeah. Of course, the community engagement part. And this is where the deepest actions comes in. So with that remarks, I guess I'm giving you the general framework. Where do I come from, and what am I trying to put forward in this next 40 minutes? Yeah. All right, Prof. Asma, I'm calling this. Yeah, I'm quoting you. I'm not sure whether this is from Academic Science Malaysia or I'm just assuming it's from you, right? Halal science. That's the word that I put in. Halal science is a game changer for Malaysia. Right? Let's treat this as a discussions on halal science. Yeah. And science not to deny social science. I mean, not to separate from social science, but science as a knowledge that is empirically proven. Yeah? Success of the halal economy requires the integration of research, transformational mindset change, STI, industry, government, working in collaborative manner to create a sustainable future. right? I don't know, maybe later on Prof. Asma can comment on this, but I found this very intriguing, yeah? Very interesting, because at the end, everyone is talking about sustainable future. Everyone's talking about sustainability. But the challenge then is that how we interpret this into the context of our university work. Yeah, so this is what I put up as a preamble to what I'll be talking about. Yeah, so it just be fair that I start with my own little perspective on this. What is sustainability? And I guess by now everyone's very familiar. Yeah, that issues of unsustainable development is so obvious in front of our eyes. Yeah, and this unsustainable development is not just about plastic. It's not just about environmental issues. Yeah, it's about economic inequalities. Is about social inequalities, injustice, and etc. Yeah. When I talk to the UNGS student, this is the simplest example, the picture to illustrate that when we talk about unsustainable development, what is the point? Yeah, having the KLCC. If next to it you can see a different level of development. Yeah, and of course next to it is even poorer situations. Yeah. So for that, maybe I can skip. I can quickly jump to what is the common definitions of sustainable development, right? One that is the most popular one that come up from our common future, development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own need. Meaning that this is an intergenerational, right? An intergenerational perspective whereby we should be thinking of our children, grandchildren, whatever that we enjoy now. Yeah. So if we enjoy our whatever food that we enjoy now, we can got to think whether they can enjoy the same kind of food in future, right? Which I think by now you can reflect immediately that the kind of food that we have now is definitely not the kind of food as fresh as our grandfather, great grandfather had before. That is already a good illustration. What happened then? What was the kind of structure, governance that control the kind of food that they have then and that we have now? And we've got to imagine sustainable development is that the future food that we're going to have, how is that food like? Are we ready to accept all GMO-based kind of food? Are we ready to accept in vitro kind of food? Lab-based food, lab-based meat? So that this is what sustainable development is. We got to think not only us, but in future generations. The other definition that is even more related to us is sustainability is just another word for the good life. Yeah? The good life means Toyiban, yeah, the Hayat Toyiban, if I'm not mistaken, on this I've listened from Prof. Aziz. The word Toyiban plays a very strong reference here. Yeah? Here, the good life means a high level of human well-being, the high level ecosystem well-being. Yeah, because sometimes we talk about only one of it, not really connecting to both. Right? So this third definition to improve the quality of life while living within the carrying capacity of ecosystems. Yeah, we know for a fact, we know already like many years, 20 years before already that the carrying capacity of our planet is already been breached. Meaning that if there is a research in the States that if the Americans are living the way that they live now, they need another 1.5 planet. And we have tested all our students in my class that they fill up the ecological footprint test, meaning that how their living style now affecting the planet. The result come out that an average of 3.5 planet is needed for each one of them, which we don't have. Right? Meaning that we've got to reflect our own capacity, our own lifestyle. How does it affect the planet? And last one is any development activity can be solved if it's a dynamic process which enable all people to realize their potential and to improve their quality of life, in which we shall simultaneously protect and enhance the Earth's life support system. Yeah, more or less reflecting this, the same, echoing the definition before. So in short, what are the principles? Yeah, what are the main keyword when we talk about what is sustainable development? Living good life, thinking about the future, systematic planning. Right? This is where the relevance of halal ecosystems come in. And this is how I think. Yeah? Living quality of life within the character system, dynamic process. This is how the innovations, the invention, the creativity comes in. And of course, meeting the needs of the future generation. So with this, I guess you can slowly, I am slowly putting up the meanings of halal, the standard meaning, the general meaning of halal, and how sustainability fit in. Yeah, and the current discussion now, of course, we get into the SDG 17. All the 17 SDG. And this 17 SDG, what I would like to highlight is from 1 until 17, is all reflect the whole ecosystems. And that ecosystem is not just the planetary ecosystems, but it's the human being connecting to that planet. Right? So before this, when we talk about Millennium Development Goal, it's not that comprehensive. It doesn't really look into several aspects that is now being put in. In Millennium Development Goal, there are 8 goals, and that 8 goals is emphasizing more of like inequalities, right? And quality of education. But now you got to see the good health and well-being, gender equality, right? So these are the issues being put in, because the more we go through life, the more we realize that the whole ecosystem is getting bigger, is getting more complex, that everything has to be counted in. And most importantly, there must be a governance system. What is that governance system? At the moment, we assume it's ethics and values, but that don't work, right? Because we know there are moments whereby we need that spiritual, deeper meaning of spiritual reference to God as the governance for that. Right? So now, from this 17 goals, what I would like to highlight is that what are the connection of this? What could possibly think that will be cross-cutting in terms of governing the 17 goals for them to be achieved? So I'm assuming at the moment halal will come in later. Yeah. All right. Now, allow me to go a bit more detail on what is the conceptual tool for understanding sustainability. Yeah. The first one, tiga bulatan ini, is talking about skill. Yeah. When we talk about the skill, sustainability can happen at different level. Yeah. Different level means different skill. Yeah. It can be look at quantities of environmental degradation, values that is missing when we refer to social sustainability, right? And we also referring to physical aspect of the environment. We're also looking at the geopolitics between the rich country and the poor country, right? And we're looking at issues of injustice, issues of access to education, etc. So there are different scale of issues to be looked at, to be considered. And that's why, in general, sustainability, yes, it is something that is complex. Why? Because life is complex. Yeah? Life is not just as black and white. But sometimes we are a bit taking for granted that we would like to deal with only the tangible part. Yeah? But the tangible part will not be made achieved or successful without addressing the intangible part. And the intangible part, referring to the qualities, referring to the values, is the one that will determine the tangible part. But we've been so mainstream that when we talk about measuring things, we would like to measure the tangible part, right? So sustainability, the important point is that we've got to address the intangible part. We've got to address the value part. We'll be addressing that a bit later on, yeah? All right, so this is what it means, like if you want to put in a very general way, from the local level until the global level. So sustainable development, sustainability is about how the life at the local level is made sustained, so that you will collectively contribute to sustainability at global level. Having said that, we can't be imposing any standards at global level, given maybe from the European countries, assuming they are the developing countries, given from America, assuming they are the developed countries, to be adopted or to be adapted at local level. So this is another essence of sustainability, means that the indigenous knowledge, the local practice, whatever that come into the local context of that particular society, should be the governance model, should be the framework, should be the policy, should be the reference. So in this context, I'm referring to halal, right? Halal has been the one that is governing our life. So now, this is where we bring in the possibility, the strong possibility of halal to serve as transformational agenda. So we'll talk about it a bit more later on, yeah? So in the context of triangle, I mean, this triangle is to reflect. So this is the component, yeah? When you talk about what are the 3 dimensions of sustainable development, this is a bit of recap, yeah? Revision for those who have been seen this many times, yeah? The challenge of sustainable development is that how do we strike the balance between the 3? the yellow area. So here, what I'm suggesting, but I think it's not what I'm suggesting. I think we talked about in the beginning that even I'm sure, last time what I heard from Professor's presentation as well is that striking the balance, finding the common thing. How do we control this? In this context, is referring to sustainable development, but in the discussions of our topic today is that the functions of halal is to strike the balance, right? For example, when you want to produce any food, the production of that food, the chain of productions line has to take care of the environmental aspect. Yes, you need that for economic growth. You need that for social perspective for you to eat. That's a simple way of putting it. So between the change of where the food come from and where the food is being sold from economic perspective and what the food is for, the social perspective, you got to consider the governance, the framework, the policy, the definition of halal, so that you can strike the balance between all the three factors. So this is where I guess a simple way of putting how halal would come in, right? So I'm not going into the detail of what halal is, but I think for general that this is where it's supposed to be implying of us, The third component is that when we try to put this in the context of how do we address sustainability issues, unsustainable development, is that radical way of addressing it, reactive way of looking at the issues like we've been hearing a lot issues of Sungai, Kim and etc. and water issues in Selangor, etc. So usually our way is very reactive to it. We don't anticipate, we don't do actions anticipating this. While we know in Islam, anticipating is a very critical factor, right? Even though Qiyamah is tomorrow, we still have to plant the seed. So imagine the very important aspect that has been told to us, but how do we put that into the context? How do we put this into practice? We've been preaching about this, but when we put into the context of sustainability, how do we put in that hadith of like, even though tomorrow is the last day, putting in the seed, meaning that we've got to do what we need to do, imagining, assuming there'll be 1,000 years ahead, right? And another way of responding to this is a very radical way. So when we do radical way, then the implication is, can we really strike the balance between the three? Okay, so these three perspectives on responding to sustainable development, this is how, when we come to sustainability framework, sustainability approach, is that what should be, right? Taking the middle way is, of course, the way forward for it, anticipating what happened. But somehow the approach that we're doing is that usually we are very reactive. Or when things happen, then we tend to be not even reactive to it, but in a radical way. But what is needed is that how are we able to anticipate what is coming? So we see that even 1,400 years before, this aspect, this context of sustainability is already there, anticipating what happens in the ayahs whereby it's 7 years of drought that will be happening. So please take off all the precautions, etc. So this is the stories during the 1,400 years before, whereby it teaches us to be very anticipatory of the future, right? But how do we put this in context? So I'm seeing again, like when we put in sustainability, it's already very similar to what we expect, what we've been taught, what we've been educated in Islam. All right, the last one, which is a bit more dynamics, is that how at the end of the day, in addressing sustainable development issues, unsustainability issues, what will determine our actions is the values, the ideologies, and most important one is the strategies. Most important in a way that what brings us forward, what will be the main forward. So this is where I will end my discussion later on to pull out what what Prof. Asma has said before, meaning that now the most important one is to look at strategies. But quickly, we know already, values means that what we hold on to, what we believe in as an individual, as a group of cultural, as a cultural component, as the values that bind us in a society. And to a certain extent, the spiritual is seen to a certain group of people as a values to them, and morality and ethics. And these values, this morality, this spirituality, then will interpret what will be the ideologies that we hold on to. Whether we are neoliberalists, we are realists, we are liberalists, we are Marxists, etc. So those are the ideologies that come from the values, right? So what I would like to highlight then is the most important one is that all these values and analogies, this is what we usually easily get excited about. Meaning that as an academics, talking about this, criticizing about this, being rhetorical about this is sometimes become our obsessions. But as I said from beginnings, that non-Muslim, they don't look into this. What they look into what are our strategies and what are the strategies that is successful in order to address the problem that we have in hand. Right, so my ultimate call in this sharing that I have is like, what kind of strategies we want to put out there, combining the sustainability perspective and the issues of halal, the framework of halal that we have, yeah, and of course, at the end, in comparisons, in difference to all other ideologies, all other religions, yeah, Islam has all the answers for this. Islam has provided the framework. Right? So it's more of like how we as Muslim are able to somehow put this into practice. So that is why what I would like to highlight is how do we talk about the strategies? We know halal conventionally will be talked about by those who are studying it from Islamic perspective. But Alhamdulillah, slowly we are the champion. I mean, Malaysia, that we've got more scholars who are not only seeing it from Islamic perspective. It get into the quality issues, it get into the management issues, it get into the hotel tourism. It's been expanded, but still you need a combination of both perspectives for us to really show that this is what Islam means, right? And this is what when we talk about Islamization of all these issues and group of knowledge need to be done is that how do we put this into practice? Okay, so here, if I may, pull out from the four components, right? These are the important principles. Though it's complex, though is talking about a very interconnected issues, it has to be made easily understood. Right? I'm not sure whether I've been one trying to make the issues understood, easily understood. Yeah, but what we need to see is that world out there is very complex, but the solution has to be made simple, has to be made easily understood. Second one, be applicable in many contexts. There's no such thing as one size fits all. Yeah, and this is where the implication is that we can't be looking at the thing from just one single disciplinary perspective. So in sustainability, the principle is that it's either interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary or multidisciplinary. What are the different? The interdisciplinary is that you still manage engineering and social science, for example. Yeah? That's interdisciplinary. Multidisciplinary, you have engineering, you have social science, you have medical, for example. Transdisciplinary is halal. Means that when you want to solve the issues, when you push the halal into the mainstream, we need to see scientific perspective, you need to see social science perspective, you need to see even political policy perspective. So this is what we mean by it's not just interdisciplinary, it's not just multidisciplinary, it's a transdisciplinary perspective whereby you've got to unlearn all this disciplinary perspective and relearn again. This is the real issues out there that you've got to combine them, collapse them, and have a fresh perspective to it. So meaning that it has to be applicable in many contexts, and that is where there are principles to it, whereby given any issues, given any context, you've got to be able to bring in this sustainability principle in. Be transferable across skill. Yeah, yes, what I said from just now, that SDG is coming from United Nations, UNESCO, of course, yeah. But then the issues on the ground, when we say grounds, means it's at local level. So they won't be coming up with their solution unless it's transferable at local level. So that is why when we say SDG is localizing sustainable developments, we are putting up the local solution. It may be transferable to other places, it may not be transferable. But the most important part is that when we talk about common issues, there are aspects which is transferable, which is an aspect which is not transferable. But when we talk about the scale, right, this is where something that needs to be contextualized. Yeah. The fourth component to translate well from fundamental values into applied policy and practical actions. All right, this is where, okay, I come from, let me give you, I come from a political science perspective, international relations, and my PhD was on Japanese technology transfer to Malaysia, right? But when I get into the postdoc at United Nations, I feel like what I have learned so far, right? For the past 3 years that I was spending time on looking, scrutinizing the issues of Japanese technology transfer. And then when I get into the meeting of United Nations, I feel like it's very disconnected. Disconnected in a way that what I've learned requires a lot of unlearning, requires a lot of relearning for me to make it applicable and beneficial to either to connect it to the policy that is being outlined by any international agenda, not necessarily United Nations. And then what more, when I see the poor people, when I see those people who are on the ground, on the streets, I was struggling. How do I connect that? Yeah? So sustainability is about where you are able to somehow learn and use something that you have learned in the classroom, right? And then immediately make it connectable, make it practical, make it relatable to what is happening on the ground, what is happening out there. This is the one of the most important one whereby you see that there's a very serious disconnection from what we learn in the classroom and the issues out there, right? So, and last one, which is the most important one, is that identify possibilities for radical transformative change and positive incremental change. There are things that need to be incrementally changed, but there are things that need to be radically transformed, right? Here, what we mean is that when my own experience is that some governance aspect is just a bit, not a bit, very outdated, that doesn't allow the ecosystem that is needed for us to push forward halal as a framework, as a reference. And that one need to be transformed, that one need to be changed. Yeah? Some regulations, even some definitions, yeah, may be suitable only to like food in a food aspect, food in the food area only. But if you talk about hotel, so there are regulations, there are definitions which is not necessarily reflective of the current issue that we challenge, that we're facing on the ground. But again, there are issues that need incremental change, and this is where the tactical part, right? Sometimes 4 years experience, yeah, when dealing with the ministries issues of higher education, for example, that there are things that we wish it is transformative, but somehow, for tactical reason, we've got to push forward positive incremental change. Why do I talk about this? Because I'm trying to be reflective of the strategies that need to be out there in order for us to really make the halal as a framework for us to really push the sustainability agenda. Because we are dealing with non-Muslim, we are dealing with international agenda. Okay? Okay? All right. So for that, I guess what I have established is that what is sustainability and how are they in general related when it comes to pushing for halal ecosystems to be the main reference for us to govern for sustainable development, right? Okay, now, to me, the basis when we try to relate how sustainability and halal is that the very concept that Islam is for rahmatan lil alamin, yeah, meaning that we really have to mainstream, we really have to concretize that when we say rahmatan lil alamin, means everything, yeah, under the sun, means the stone, the animal, the trees, and of course human being, the planetary, the galaxy. But somehow our assumption is that it's human being or it's environment, right? So even more stronger stigma is that when we see that, okay, Islam is for the Muslim, right? So this is where the challenge is. This is where our ability, this is where we talk about sustainable development goal, when the main, one of the important tagline is that no one left behind, is that it doesn't matter whether you are Muslim or you're non-Muslim. That's where the challenge comes in, is that whether we, I mean, we means that whether Islam and Muslim are able to project that Islam is actually rahmatan lil alamin, because the image out there is one, but us as Muslim, are we really projecting the dynamics, the professionalism of Islam to the non-Muslim and to the other, even to the environmental aspect as well? So, and this is where the concept of maslahah comes in, which I think we know very well, that when we talk about maslahah, it's for the betterment, it's for the improvement. Doesn't matter, yeah, for the Muslim or non-Muslim, right? Okay, I just outlined the way I see basic principle, which I'm sure, speaking to this group of experts on halal, there's no need for me to go through this, yeah. But ultimately, divine orders is the most important one, the maqasid Sharia. Yeah? And when I talk about maslahah, it's a beneficial, either it's beneficial or not. This is the guideline that I take. Yeah? I may be, of course, we need to talk more about this, but I take it this one for me to take forward my argument. Yeah, and it's the context that must be right. Yeah, times and places, and this is what sustainability is about too. Just now, when I put out my the previous slide, is that the context has to be right, the timing has to be right, the level, the skill has to be there. And this is something that needs to be factored in. This is something that needs to be considered. So it's the same, it's the common principle that halal is being defined here, right? So here, what I mean is that the whole ecosystem that is needed to ensure halalness, yeah, that ecosystem of like before and after the product, yeah, the generation, the development of the product, usage of the product, and the surroundings that it comes from, is what I call as ecosystem. And that ecosystem is where the principle and fundamental sustainability need to be observed. So here I see that when we want to ensure that the actual meaning, purpose of halal is being established, is being adhered to, is being observed, that whole ecosystem is something that needs to be addressed. It's not just about the product, yeah. But my initial impression or reflection of this is that I see that some of us are seeing that it's the product only, right? Whether that product has that ingredient kind of thing. But what is most important, we know this, we know that ecosystem needs to be there, but how much is the emphasis on that ecosystem that need to be leading towards certifying, or that needs to be leading to be ensured that it leads to satisfy the requirement of being halal? Yeah, the GMP kind of thing is a very common, good manufacturing practice. So those things need to be, and that's where the strongest link between the requirement for halal, the ecosystem for halal, and the ecosystem that is needed for us to achieve sustainable development. Because at the end of the day, right, when we look at how to find the balance between the three perspectives, economic, social, environment, is that the ecosystems, whether it provides you to provide, it helps you to provide the balance or not. So this is where I see a strong potential, or not potential, but that's the reality. If we can ensure the ecosystem that is needed to be observed in order to get that halal status, yeah, to adhere to the requirement of halal, inshallah, yeah, I think all the other aspect of ensuring sustainability of that product, for example, or that service for hotel and service industry, for example, or even any other thing, is that the ecosystems are being guaranteed, are being structured, are being governed in a way that is not only ensuring sustainability, but in order to ensure sustainability, we get that halal status there, right? So this is what I mean by what is the implications on the ground, that if we ensure the ecosystem for halal is being adhered to, is being established, is being developed, is being innovated, then that is the platform of the same platform that we want to ensure how sustainability is. We talk about quality, we talk about equal access to the food, we talk about equal service to those people. We talk about access to those who may be poor, who not have access to that, but the ecosystem, the factors of trying to find the balance need to be adhered to. So at the end, the ecosystem somehow serving the same need, right? To get the halal status, yeah, and also like to ensure sustainability. as to how we talked about before, right? And this is how I take this from Halal Industry Master Plan 2030, but I heard that this is not finalized yet. Yeah, I was informed by the people from that office that this is not, I'm not sure, but I guess there's not so much change when we talk about the content of this, yeah, which I'm sure you all in the audience are very familiar to this, yeah. The main context that the bigger picture that halal is being sold out there is that, and also what I gather from what Prof. Asma was trying to present is that we are looking at the whole ecosystem, and more specifically, we are looking at the socio-economic ecosystems. Right? It's not just about producing food, right? It's bigger than that. And for that purposes, you see this outer circle of it. We talk about investments, we talk about employment, we talk about trade. Yeah? And you go to even outer circle, you talk about science and technology, the infrastructure that is needed. So in this context, yeah, how do you see those sustainability or unsustainability practice that is happening out there that can be addressed if we impose the requirement of halal ecosystems to be there? So all those issues of unsustainability, issues of unequal access, issues of environmental degradation will naturally be addressed. Okay? So this is what I mean, that if you put it together, the ecosystem, the component that need to be there in order to observe the purpose of halal, the same ecosystem that need to be addressed has to be there. We want to ensure sustainability. Or if the practice has not been sustainable, right, the same meaning to a certain extent is not being halal. So in order for us to make that halal, the ecosystem to be halal, we are addressing the issues of unsustainable development. Okay? The food, the source of food, again, so I'm giving the same example. The line of productions, the line of supply, the chain of supply to get to that food, to get to that service, yeah, is the same chain of supply that when we talk about sustainable consumptions and productions, those are the factors that has to be considered. So the same factors, if we want to get a halal hotel, for example, to establish halal service hotel, yeah, the same line of where do they get supply from, where do they get food from, and that food, is it a good food, is it a healthy food? So I'm seeing a very straightforward relations between ecosystem for sustainable development and ecosystem for halal. And this is why when the first time that I heard when Prof. Asma was saying that this is a big thing, halal is a big thing, and we can be champion on this. This is what struck my mind, that I was imagining, what if? What if is one, but why not all this while halal become the main reference for this? So, all right. So, and I think there's no need for me to go through this because I guess most of us, or many of us, or even all of us, has recognized the importance of halal industry. Yeah. But what I would like to highlight here is that it's not just talking about the socio-economic aspect, right? When we talk about sustainable development, the environmental aspect has to be in. So I wish, why do I share this? Yeah, this 2030 halal, yeah, is that I would love to see that how do we link the environmental aspect. And there are people, yeah, there are studies already talks about whether green management is halal or not. Green management is talking about not only the social aspect, yeah, but talking about how does it impact the environment. But there are not that many yet, and I'm not seeing that the environmental aspect come into strongly into the picture of how the blueprint, the so-called blueprint, yeah, the 2030 or even 2020 blueprint, how that component of ensuring greenness of that halal industry comes in, right? We see the supply in terms of the food, yeah, or even the herbs, yeah, and vegetable, etc. But the impact on the environment, that supply chain goes to that level, that is still missing, right? So we are now seeing, and also the same thing to a certain extent, that how does it help people on the ground? What kind of people who are being hired in order to provide that, in order to become part of the supply chain? So each stage of that supply chain need to be looked at so that it can be linked to sustainability. sustainability to be defined from that three perspective, sustainability to be defined as all the four principles, the five principles that I've mentioned just now. Okay. All right, and then I think again, this is nothing need to be further highlight that we have seen. We seen this, we know this, we recognize this, and this is what. And not to deny that we are a champion. Malaysia is a champion. But what I would like to highlight here is that for us, this is a golden opportunity for us to showcase to the world that if we can become a champion on this, there must be some good reason, there must be some good infrastructure, there must be some good policy support behind it that has enabled us to become the champion of this. Given that we are the champion, why not we extend that to showcase that halal is the best platform for us to achieve that sustainable development goal or to help in promoting sustainability. And finally, this is what I thought will be my my sincere hopes is that at the end of the day, this is what we'd like to show to the world, that this is what Islam is about. And this is the beauty of Islam, this is the dynamic of Islam. Meaning that once we're able to establish that we can get all these sustainability things through halal as a framework, through halal science is what Prof. Asma is referring to it, yeah? If we can get this to be the mainstream, if we can get to be recognized that Muslims are already doing this, and Malaysia as a country has already been putting this into practice, and we are successful in selling this, in putting this and exporting, and we are already doing that. Yeah? But if we can really showcase, concretize whatever that is needed, then we can show to the world that how beautiful Islam is, and how Muslims are really addressing the global issues. Because that's where the missing is to me, right? When we talk about sustainable development, we are not seeing that much, a case study, a showcase that come from the Muslim countries. How do we solve all these problems? How do we talk? How do we bridge the international agenda? It doesn't mean that we are subscribing to the whatever that comes. So there are critics say that we are subscribing to the sustainability agenda which come from United Nations. No, that's not the point. The point is that for us to showcase that Islam is Rahmatan lil Alamin. Sorry that I may sound a bit emotional or like a preacher, but the intention is that this is the ultimate aim, that to prove that Islam Rahmatan Alamin, Islam is very dynamic, Islam is based on that maslahah for everyone. Yeah. All right. So now what my point just now is that we wish that we can somehow put more works to this, showcase more evidence to this, a good story, a success story, more innovation, etc., for us to somehow highlight that we are able to address this. And we have already the framework that was developed even 1,400 before, right? And here I take from Prof. Asma, the slide, just to highlight that we are being recognized as a country in halal. But if we compare to other compare to other countries, this is their level of progress. Yeah. So what else can be done? Yeah? And how else can we even become a main reference for this? Yeah, to a certain extent, we are already. But what it provides is a very strong platforms, yeah, for us to really champion in this. And that's why, again, I purposely, and also like I don't want to be talking and try to, because I have to admit that linking sustainability and halal is very difficult challenge to me. But thank God, alhamdulillah, thank you, Prof. Asma, for putting this, right? This is how, yeah, we have got no other option except to move forward with this. And we have the potential, we have the strength, and maybe Prof. Asma later can refer to 10 strategies, which I'm not that detailed to it. Yeah. All right. Why do I put this? Yeah, from the same document. Yeah, Halal Development 2030 MDP. Yeah, is that I would like to see how we highlight the word sustainability, because this is where the selling point, and this is where the connections. Here you see for sustainable, balanced, and inclusive socio-economic growth. This is what sustainability is, right? So they are actually talking about it. But now my contention here, my point is that let's pitch this as a solution to sustainable development goal, or as a platform for sustainable development goal, right? So because the understanding is there, the synergy is there, the component is there. So there's a lot of commonalities is there. But for us to somehow showcase this and pitch this, that we can do this, yeah, as a national project to the world, right, to SDG. Yeah? And this slide is actually to somehow shows that to the document, right? Quoting from the document, they say modest fashions, medical tourism, medical device. These are the emerging sectors. Yeah, but I would like to somehow project here is that while these three, of course, yeah, the immediate one now that is mainstreaming, but when we talk about the whole ecosystems, when reflects the whole 17 SDGs, there are many other industries, there are many other areas in that supply chain that we can pull out and insert the halal framework and insert the halal requirement there so that it can be part and parcel of the whole ecosystem. Okay. And if you talk about the enablers, yeah, again, this is also the article, I mean, the diagram that's taken from there. Just to illustrate further, towards my last few slides, which is actually I'm taking it from Prof. Asma. Here, when we talk about halal, I think you are all familiar with this, the traceability, the talent that is needed for that, issues of certification, standard, etc., Islamic finance that need to fund, and logistic. These are the whole range of chains of as an ecosystem or supply chain. Yeah, but and then there are many studies already. Let's try to somehow put it together. Yeah, how when we talk about halal as transforming potential platforms for sustainability is that we have green management aspect, we have halal certification aspect. This is what I mean just now when we want to somehow change or tweak it so that it become a framework for sustainability. Yeah. All right. This is where, Professor Asma, I'm trying to end my slide by pushing us together and then linking back to what Prof. Asma was suggesting and talked about last time, that what we talked here about is that how do we treat this as a science in a way that how knowledge, right, how expertise need to be developed and that knowledge need to be translated into actions. And I think halal is the best platform for us because it's very multidisciplinary, very interdisciplinary, or even transdisciplinary. And to support that, right, the kind of research that need to be done, and I recognize, yeah, alhamdulillah, I think what INHART is doing is already a lot of great job that is being contributing. Yeah, and this is how maybe Prof. Asma can chip in a bit later. Sorry to refer to you a lot, Prof. Yeah, but I would like to bring in to get the feel of that what is needed here is that the actions and what is happening in terms of technology, what is happening in terms of globalization, they all can be manipulated. Sorry, they all can be utilized, not manipulated. It's a bit negative connotation. They all can be utilized for us to advance, yeah, the halal quote unquote industry. Yeah. With the blockchain and etc. And this is all related to the issues of achieving the challenge of achieving sustainability. They can all be mapped. So there's nothing missing. Just that how willing we are. I mean, how deep we immerse in the exercise, how deep we immerse in the process for us to really outline, for us to really project that halal is the framework for this. Okay. Right. All right. This is just another reflection, not again illustration of what the previous slide that I really hope that Prof. Asma maybe can be given a chance. I save 5 minutes from my time, Prof, for you to chip in a bit there. What is there? So what I try to put up here again is that I totally agree as to how I started with a game changer. I would end with that as well, because this is where the strong potential for us to really push for the case that we can be a global player. The whole world is committed. Last week, I think last week or last 2 weeks, we launched our Sustainable Development Report. We're not doing that good, but we are better than before. But if only we put halal framework as our reference, as our governance, inshallah we can do way better than that. And ultimately, again, let's refer to Islam. Yeah, I wouldn't read into the detail, not only because I don't have the detail, but somehow just to trigger that the strong potential is there. Not only potential, some of them is really happening there. Yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot of INHART things that has been happening to. And this is just to illustrate how that each of the eco chain, supply chains, each of the component of the ecosystem can be further developed to make our halal ecosystem a very vibrant ecosystem, yeah, and have the multiplier effect. Right? And this is where the beautiful concept of sustainability, whereby we are not dividing it by disciplinary anymore. If you see from here, yeah, you may thought, we may thought that when we talk about smart technology system is an IT thing, but now the challenge is that how do we apply directly, not just by learning about IT and then take another time to apply it into the halal the ecosystem. But what we need to do now is directly addressing the issues of IT and halal. And this is why I recognize the word of INHART. But this is a kind of change. This is a kind of transformation as to how this is what happened in the discourse, in the circle of sustainable development. Yeah, what happened there is that there's a lot of unlearn and relearn that to be happened, even to the extent that some universities already introduce, yeah, master in climate change instead of master in in geography or master in science. Yeah, they directly go to master in climate change. Why? Because they know that the whole ecosystem need to be addressed directly, no longer by addressing it from disciplinary perspective. And this is what I mean by, if we take transformational framework, halal as a transformational framework, we can showcase at the end that we want to address sustainability issues. This is the approach, right? Okay, this is just to illustrate further what are those existing supply chain that is already there or can be potentially developed. Yeah, this is all direct slide from Professor Asma. Right? So and also I think this is also to illustrate important that when we talk about sustainable development, we talk about our contributions directly to the community, especially the bottom billion, yeah, and the B40, sorry, the B40, yeah? Right? And this is where it's already happening. Yeah, you can see the green that is being highlighted here. That is where the potential. So imagine if we can mobilize this whole keyword, this whole work, this whole showcase, so that we can project that we've got everything that requires for us to contribute to sustainability, right? So I will end with this slide, yeah, by recapping that what is most important to see that all this effort, all this work is based on the concept of maslahah, yeah, the concept of rahmatan lil alamin. And then the problem that we see in the world is that because we fail to look and to convert development to the benefit of human being and universal well-being, meaning that our failure to address to the whole rahmatan lil alamin, and that failure, yeah, I would assume our failure as well, that we are not able to show that the kind of knowledge that we develop, the kind of innovation that we develop, the kind of R&D that we get into may sometimes be R&D that is not required by this group of people. Only certain percentage, small percentage of people, right? And that's where the global problem exists, because we are not addressing those. That problems is not meaning of the negative. That problems is that how do we solve the 5 billion people or the 4 billion people who are still living under $2.3 a day? Right? So those are the group of people that need to be addressed, and how? Through this sustainability, or in this context, what I'm trying to project is through the halal framework that we can address all these things, right? And another point is that halal is not just an industry, because sometimes I see a lot of, for preparing things, I was reading a lot of readings, a lot of article, and it's a very strong reference, seeing this as a product, seeing this as in the same debate that is happening in seeing what is the role of university, right? So we're seeing halal as an industry, right? So when you see it as an industry, right, you won't value, you won't recognize the whole ecosystems. So when there is a break in the ecosystem, then it defeats the purpose, right? So what we see is a fake halal certifications, because the full GMP is not being observed. What we see is that tons of non-halal meat being somehow get into Malaysia, because the whole chain is not being observed, the whole chain is not being monitored. Instead, what we'd like to highlight is that is the ecosystem. And extending from there is a lifestyle. And ultimately, that's what Islam is. It's a religion. Yes, yeah, but it's a way of life more than just like any other religion. It's a way of life, right? And I'm sure we have seen this beyond this, and I think that's like before. So lastly, yeah, I would like to see this, yeah, ultimately, that when we integrate the same goes argument of sejahtera, that we like to see a sejahtera development kind of model, yeah, sejahtera economic model, the same that I wish that halal to be adopted, yeah, to be used, to be utilized as a main reference to shape the development model. Okay, with that, Dr. Yumi, I would end that way. I hope that I have done justice to the topic. I have to admit that is a new topic that I'm trying to explore, and I have to thank Prof. Asma for allowing, not allow, I think it's secondary, but allowing to refer to you. But ultimately, my intention is to somehow provide continuity of discussions of what Prof. Asma has talked about and try to highlight what INHART has been doing so far. So, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zainal. It's a very insightful sharing, open up our mind to see where we can actually work together further. I think we have around 20 minutes, 25 minutes for comments, suggestions, questions. You can either unmute yourself or you can also ask in the chat room. I'll try and read it. Actually, we have one question if you want to respond to this question first, Dr. Zainal. So this is from Nina Rahim Muhammad in the chat room. The EU court has deemed halal slaughter incompatible with animal welfare. This is in the news. So how do we respond to this? Dr. Zainal, unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure how can I answer this. Yeah. But I will not be picking up from halal. Maybe someone from halal can answer this. But if you see this from sustainable practice, yeah. If they say that the court has deemed halal slaughter incompatible with animal welfare, if I can try to relate it to the 17 SDG goals, yeah, the 17 of them, yeah, I don't see this as something that goes against the SDG, yeah, any of the SDG, because what is more important is that the way we treat the animal before that. It's not about like, because if we say this, meanings that we are going, I mean, as Muslim, we are going against the teachings that memang, I can't speak Malay, sorry. Memang, sorry, the creations of God, yeah, the animal, all those things, that is halal, is for us to consume somehow, yeah. And so if we are joining them, saying that the selective, or maybe, Dr. Yumi, maybe they are referring to the process, I mean, the process. The process, yeah. So if you're answering the process, I think this is where I was talking about. I was asking my friend, my old colleague just now, that kalau dalam konteks Islam, in the context of Islam, the pisau that is being used has to be made sure that it's not menyakitkan the animal itself. But from that context, I guess that is hadith saying that we have got to make sure that in the slaughtering purpose, the pisau that is being used is very tajam, that will not torture the animal. So from there, a very strong message is that there's nothing wrong doing that. What is most important is that what kind of precaution, what kind of thing that we have done to make sure. So if that kind of small thing, even to the knife that Islam has given emphasis, what more to the bigger aspect to it? It must be there and it must be taken care. So in short, I don't agree with this, but I don't know how to see it. So if from sustainability perspective, I think this is where, to a certain extent, Dr. Yumi, this is where I would go against some of the agenda of those people who might be supporting sustainable development from the Western.
Yeah, maybe Prof. Hamzah, you have some response to that? I think I saw Prof. Hamzah there.
Or even Prof. Asma, who's still around.
Yeah. if anyone would like
At
to
least I
further
said her name
respond.
7 times.
Seru.
Trying to diseru 7 kali.
Dato', you want to say something?
Prof? Especially the slide that I put there. I mean,
Yeah, Pra Azura actually say something here in the chat room. So in the issue of slaughtering, do you think that we need more awareness program to teach people the proper way of Islamic slaughtering? Maybe in relation to the previous question, people are not aware actually the Islamic way of slaughtering is the most humane. Yeah, there Dato' Asma dah diseru.
yeah.
So many times.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm not an expert to be able to answer on this aspect, but I answer if we now take into account the requirements of the Islamic way of slaughtering, it's supposed to be the most humane way. And I think from my studies before on when I took livestock science, it is the most humane way. It was there in the textbooks of livestock science. So I don't know where this new rule to say that this is not animal welfare. That one I'm not sure. But in the textbooks of livestock science, this is the most humane way. Let's now shift base on the discussion on connectivity between sustainability and halal. We are talking about an ecosystem. We're not just talking about a business or halal, just the halal supply chain. We're talking about the whole ecosystem. That means it's integrated with as from academic point of view, it's an integrated discipline. From the ministry's point of view, this is cross-cutting. You cannot solve the problem of food by Ministry of Agriculture alone. It has to be an integrated cross ministries to solve this problem. In fact, Dr. Zaina, I just finished giving a keynote to Mardi Digital Conference.
Mardi, okay.
Because they want to now turn around game changer to make sure food is available, because as a lesson from COVID-19, Malaysia finds that we are importing more than we are exporting, and why is this happening in this our country, right, where we are supposed to be able to throw anything and the plant will grow, but yet we are importing a lot. And World Bank, in the latest World Bank report on sowing the seeds, have also stated that for Malaysia to move forward in terms of economic recovery plan is to move into agriculture, but not your regular agriculture. And this is where perkataan halal ecosystem and sustainability starts to come in. Because if we look at what are the reasons why we are having the lack of food in the world today, the global challenges, is because by 2050, the world population will increase to 10 billion, right? And that means we have to produce 70% more food than what we have now. And tomorrow we are talking about climate change that is going to affect floods, disaster, everything that will affect the food. We are talking about the land, the existing land that has been degraded, that has undergone soil erosion because we keep planting and replanting, and then we put in all sorts of fertilizer. It's destroying the nutrients in the soil, and we don't have time to reconserve the soil to produce that kind of food. And then the last factor is that a lot of wastage. This is not sustainable. In a population where 800 million people are in hunger, and more than that have lack of malnourishment, but 1 trillion worth of USD worth of food is never eaten because a lot of this. So this is where sustainable practice needs to come in, right? And even food wastage is not halal, I think, in Islam. Also, we don't want to waste.
Bazirin.
So membazir. So all this aspect, at the end of the day, that's why I asked for INHART to also look into the halal science. What would be a solution? The solution of population intensity, climate change, food wastage, land not there. One of the suggestion now to move, because agriculture now, government has just launched sustainable development. Okay, that's good news. Kedua, the Halal conference also launched the fact that halal will be the one of the key, and then is now a key factor in RMK 12. That means the is heading that direction. It looks that they are moving on digital health, digital agriculture, but Tokpa has just come up with saying that as a result of the World Bank saying that the way forward for Malaysia is agriculture, Tokpa has now come up as the Minister of EPU that we need to go to smart agriculture. But when in my talk, I say it's not good enough to be smart. Smart is just having a digital agriculture. What do you put on top of that digital platform? This is where sustainable smart agriculture needs to come in. Because the word sustainable will make you address all these 4 factors that I say that is causing a lot of problems regarding food. And this is how one of the solutions today is vertical farming. With vertical farming, we just have to have a warehouse that we build all the way to the top, layers and layers of different kind of vegetables, different kind of food, different kind of plants or whatever that we want to grow in a condition where we control everything by LED, and then the nutrients are no longer wasted, the water is not wasted, because agriculture takes up a lot of water resources. 70% of fresh water is taken by agriculture just to need. So we need to do circular economy, so and all that. And now with all that happening, the one that is answering to this question is not the Muslim country. That is why I agree with what Zainal is saying. Hey, how come we don't take leadership? We are supposed to be the champion of what the Quran says, and yet we are not taking the leadership. You know, in California, because of the large, I say climate change, this is correct. You need to teach future graduate students who are listening to this. It's not enough for you to study your discipline. You need to see that everything is now connected. You know, the climate change is affecting everything, but the one that affected everything regarding all this is food, because food is for us. Do you know that 94% of livestock, that means animals in this planet, is based on livestock for us, to feed us. 6% are just animals, right? So if we now do not stop the population from going beyond 10 billion, we will be needing 3.5 planets lah, macam we are saying. So who is teaching this to the student? This is the future generation, right? If you are doing things the way you are now, nothing will change. We need to undergo systemic or transformational change. Incremental change will not work anymore, because the whole thing needs transformation. That's why perkataan transformation is total change. It's not incremental change. So these are the kind of things that when we connect all these things together, vertical farming will produce the kind of food that you now need. And you control the entire pesticide, water to make it halal. And the whole environment from input, process, output can be undergoing the entire end-to-end halal supply chain. That means the process, the way we grow, and then the way we package, the way we send, everything. In California, to prevent carbon emission, you know, like you grow in some area and then by transport you bring to people in the urban, because tomorrow they're talking about urbanization. More population will move to the towns than it is to the remaining in the rural area. So in California, all the parks are vertical farm. Instead of just planting nice trees, they have now vertical farming and creating nice landscape environment, but the food is now brought closer to the locals, and therefore it's cheaper and fresh, and you can even see what date they have harvested, and every day you can harvest the food without having to worry about climate change and everything. Why can't we do that? Healthy lifestyle is advocated in Islam. So if we now have better plants, vegetables that do not unnecessarily have perkataan organic now becomes the in thing, because they don't know not that thing is halal, but they didn't know that they are practicing what they call organic under universal language. They're calling organic, but actually we can control the whole thing to make it a halal ecosystem. So there's a lot of things that we can do. So Zainal, I want to add, it's not just about learn, unlearn, relearn. Also about co-learning, because you don't simply tell the farmer, hey, this is the way to grow. You have to learn from him also. What is doing. So there is now co-learning and then co-creating, because if you don't co-create with the farmers will continue to remain poor. And you know, sustainability cannot take place if you don't transfer and change in the locality. So that is why the last slide that I had shown, that if you make all this innovation, vertical farming, it doesn't work unless you bring it to the community, change and create a sustainable change in the livelihood of the farmers. So instead, so I said agriculture, instead of giving them baja and all that, give them the, if they are still using the land, give them drone service, all right? But why not you teach them about having vertical farming? This can be done on that small piece of land, but then moving it up. So therefore, they can get more income rather than toiling on a small piece of land that has undergoing nutrition and degradation and all that. So banyak benda, a lot of things. And I actually want to give a talk on agricultural sustainability, because you ask show and tell. You know, INHART, show and tell. You have a lab that doesn't have equipment. Maybe that lab can be utilized for vertical farming. Sorry, Hamzah, but you know, people, Malaysians are very skeptical people, right? They do a lot of talk, but they don't do it, you know, they talk a lot. But, and to satisfy skeptics is to show and tell. So you have plant science group, you have engineering group, you have all these people, INHART himself can control the entire ecosystem to make sure it is halal, that the fertilizer we use in it. Now, Hamzah, tak payah guna fertilizer. We now have aeroponics that you just spray this enough and you see the roots growing, but there's no water, there's no nothing. That is now ultimate what science can do, but creating a very nutritious food for everybody. So the whole, if you want to show and tell that is sustainable, that is halal, we can easily create vertical farms or precision farming and put it as a show and tell, because now even in Europe, in US, the whole office is vertical farm. You understand? The whole office, you see the green, everything is vertical farm, so that the people in the building can just buy vegetable or whatever and then take it home, or they have the vegetable and make it into food in the cafeteria of these companies and whatnot. So this is the concept. In China, in US, everywhere, they are doing it, but we don't see that concept in Malaysia. What we saw is buildings, futuristic building, they have green glass, but not the kind that we need. So I think that there's a lot that can be done. I think a matter of practical doing maybe can bring people together, because when experiential learning, you learn a lot more and you understand a lot more what the connectivity between sustainability and halal. So inshallah, we will try to do this. I will try to minta cooperation from Prof. Hamzah and also from the Dean of perhaps Dean of Science, Kuliah Science, where they have the plant group. Maybe together we can work to do a show and tell on sustainable agriculture the halal way, because tomorrow is about sustainable, smart farming that is ethical farming. Satu lagi perkataan you lupa, ethical farming, whereby again in the whole ecosystem you must take care of the people that work in it, the condition that they are working in it. All this is there described in the halal ecosystem. So if we do this kind of practice, I also, as Zaina is saying, right, perhaps Malaysia should champion this among the OIC countries, actually show that this is a potential for us in the future. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Prof.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy actually, Datuk, when you remind us, actually there are many students here. So these are the future generations. These are the people who are going to be leaders tomorrow. So we should actually try to get their mind to be open up, because we are not going to be there then after all this climate change. Yeah. And there's also one comment here. So this is from Monsuru Salisu. Thanks, Prof. I will appreciate if you can actually give the talk on agriculture sustainability. So there's a follower,
Okay.
Datuk.
There's one question there, Dr. Yumi, on the vaccine thing, which I think I would love to respond in a bit of like, Sustainability.
Yes,
Okay. Definitely, everyone is talking about vaccines. Yeah, UK start giving the vaccines to their populations, and there are people, Malaysians there who are taking the vaccines up already. And these people are being questioned now whether, oh, you are brave, are you sure this ingredient is halal or not? But this is where I guess Muhammad Bare, this is where the usual expected question. Every time new thing coming up, in vitro, lab meat kind of thing, the first question that we will come in is always whether the ingredient related to pork or not. I think this is total transformational shift that need to be done. And from sustainability perspective, this is our lesson, right? COVID-19 is not the black swan. Right? We have anticipated this. I mean, from sustainability perspective, this is what is anticipated already. It is coming, this kind of pandemic, but how willing we are to spend on R&D, how willing we are to anticipate and prepare and invest on this. We can't be talking about whether halal or not if we ourselves don't even have capacity to research, not even an inch about it. Right? And then we start questioning whether it's halal or not. So we are not ultimately be able to show that Islam is a solution. I mean, whenever the non-Muslim, the one hand comes with the solution, the non-Muslim hand is questioning to it. But the non-Muslim hand is not providing the solutions. So kalau kita balik pada ayat tangan-tangan manusia yang mencemarkan, tangan-tangan manusia yang Muslim itu selalunya mencemarkan dan mempersoalkan. But tangan non-Muslim itu yang sorry, I speak Malay. The non-Muslim hand comes with a solution, the Muslim hand questioning whether it's halal or not. Right? But what have the Muslim hand done in terms of contributing to this? So this is what the call for Para Asma to like pushing and provoking the postgraduate students to work on this kind of research, anticipatory research, vertical farming. This is the thing that Muslim has advanced. So what we're doing? I mean, why are we still? And we will keep on going to this cycle as to how in sustainability issues, we are not addressing, reset whatever we need to do now after COVID. Again, when COVID-20, whatever comes, we have the same problems. Yet, unfortunately, very sadly, we have Islam as a solution, we have Sejahtera, we have Sejahtera as our framework before, as how our sustainability exists. Yeah. So my response to that is for us to start working on this. Thank you.
Can I respond to the
Yes. Yes, Datuk. Thank you.
In academic science, we gave Mahathir Science Award to Sir Alimuddin Zumla, the first Muslim scientist that we recognize to receive this award. And he is, of course, the head of the UK Council, Medical Council, that approved for the use of the vaccine. We will bring him on Astro Awani so that more questions like this would now come up. So he gets this question every day. So I asked him the question, tell me about the Pfizer vaccine and the Moderna vaccine. And why are people questioning about this halal haram thing when this is a messenger RNA vaccine? Ulang suara to the postgraduate, if you ever want to ask the question, study it first. This is not a regular vaccine. This is a messenger RNA vaccine never done before. Okay, what is messenger RNA? Messenger RNA is messenger RNA. There's no kidney lah, apalah. There's nothing media-wise. That is your regular vaccine that we have been using. But science, basically, when we say, what are the scientists doing? We have this pandemic, it's killing our industry, our economy, what are you doing? So science has brought the solution to the door in 18 months or whatever, very fast. Of course, first question, you question, why is this so fast? Then the next question you say, is it halal or not? Because you never bother to find out what kind of vaccine is this. This is messenger RNA. If you are now in molecular biology, you know messenger RNA, when it goes in, it makes protein, it will ask your body to make the protein. So this is what it is. It codes for the protein of the virus, which is the conserved part of the virus. So all this mutation that you're talking about is on the non-conserved part of the virus. The basic conserved part of the virus is still there. So the messenger RNA asks your body, when you inject it, it asks your body to make the protein, which is the conserved part. So this conserved part is what your body is now reacting to create the antibody. Itu je. And the messenger RNA will degrade. After it asks your body to make the protein, it degrades. Habislah. And of course, the only question you're going to ask me is that there was never a precedence before, right? Okay, betul. There's no precedence before, but this is technology advancement. So unless we try, we wouldn't know. So kalau nak kata halal haram, 2000 in UK, they brought all the fatwas around the world together. I asked him also about the halal haram. They brought all the fatwas to all the experts, Muslim experts, and led by one of the biggest Muslim experts on yang faham science and also me. And at the end of the day, they come up with one ayat. If it is going to be the one that was safe, then it is okay to take it. But bottom line, they cannot find also apakah ingredient dalam tu yang say this is non-halal. So at the end of the day, that is why UK in concert dengan Islamic punya fatwas and whatnot agreed to this vaccine. And so I asked Sir Alimuddin Zumla, which is a wara guy also, nama dia Sir because this is the first Muslim to now receive the Sir from Queen Elizabeth for the tremendous amount of work that he had done for COVID, for HIV, for TB, tuberculosis around the world. You need to get to know this guy. Hopefully I can bring this guy when he comes to Malaysia to receive the award from the Agung, can bring this guy to UIA so that you can have more thorough discussion from the Islamic point of view. And I asked him, would you take the vaccine? You know, he says, yes. From all the need, I would take the vaccine. So this is coming from the one who investigate this, the one who understand this, the one who are involved in the studying of the vaccine, the trials and whatnot to make critical judgment of this all. I'm not saying that his word is the ultimate, but I'm saying for us to ask you who are intellectuals not to believe in fake news and whatever, believe in the science that has been taught to you. This is a fundamental science knowledge for all people involved in molecular biology. You should now be doing public engagement to tell people what mRNA can do and what this is all about. Then it's different from the kind of vaccine that we used to know before. This is a messenger RNA vaccine. That's all that I want to say on this. I think there are a lot of experts whom Academy Science has now brought in for Esrawani for to give more clarity on this aspect. But I got it from the horse's mouth, so that's why I'm revealing to you now from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, thank you, Dato', for the explanation. Prof. Hamzah, you want to say a few words?
Yes, please, Prof.
Yes, please, Prof.
I would like to thank Dr. Zainal, Prof. Dato' Asma for sharing their views in our seminar series. And we know already the next topic will be Prof. Dato' Asma.
Agriculture.
And more challenges to INHART. Every time I give a talk to INHART, you know already.
Homework, many homework.
No, we are just the coordinator, as you have rightly pointed out. So we are using the expertise from various teams and sharing through the seminar series. Inshallah. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, Prof.
Yeah, thank you. So I think I can just let one last comment or question, if there's any, before we end. Is there any more question or observation or suggestion?
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullah.
I'm Mansoor Salisu from UPSI. Thank you, Malik.
Yeah. UPSI.
Yeah.
UCSI.
UPSI.
UPSI. OPSI. Okay. Please, brother.
Yeah, I'm from the Department of Agricultural Science. I want to ask, I so much appreciate Prof. Asma for the very brief and very comprehensive lecture on the agricultural sustainability. I just want to ask Prof, do we do we see the area of agricultural sustainability as a viable research area to sustain the end-to-end halal supply chain?
Oh, man, you asked the right question. It is there in analysis by World Bank for Malaysia to move Malaysia's economy. Please read Sowing the Seeds. Just Google Sowing the Seed. You get the World Bank report, para on agriculture and how to move agriculture. That's why agriculture is now on the map to move Malaysia and hopefully the OIC countries, because this is the way forward. We cannot population is increasing. We cannot stop the population from increasing. 2050 is predicted to hit 10 billion, and that means we can no longer be able to survive without food. So we cannot be able to grow the food the way it is now. It requires transformational change, and that is why sustainable agriculture is the way forward. Because if you don't practice sustainable agriculture, we will face a lot of water resources being wasted. We use a lot of pesticide that destroy the environment again. We have the problem of climate change that affects the floods and everything that will affect. And not only that, the greenhouse gases that we are producing in a non-sustainable way is creating the climate change. You know, it's all in a vicious cycle. So unless human beings on this planet understand planetary science or sustainable science and how all these are all interconnected, right? So we have to be very careful as the solution of the future. And that's why you are studying, I think, in an area that is a game changer, that everybody will need, because without food we die. All right, so please proceed to this study on sustainable agriculture, but the word now is sustainable smart agriculture, right? That uses science and technology to now make it even better, but at the same time using a halal control environment to make sure. I mean, we can control everything. On precision agriculture, we are the one who control the pesticide, we are the one who control amount of water, we are the one who control everything. So basically, you can make sure everything is halal to now move it forward. So it can be done. So that's why I'm asking if INHART can coordinate. Kapra Hamzah wants to use the word coordinate because I asked INHART to lead, but that's all right. Coordinate is good. It's a start. maybe it can be a show enter bawah under Prof. Zaina, because I think skeptics need to see and be wowed by what vertical farming and aeroponics can now do. No longer hydroponics, we are moving aeroponics now.
Thank you, Prof. So I can come up with a research grant and collaboration with you.
I'm not in agriculture, unfortunately, I'm in medicine. But tomorrow in budget 2021, R&D is moving on agriculture, big time. Agriculture now is big time. It's a big time word. So now I say, if you can put that on the halal platform, that's even better.
If I may just add quickly, Yumi, to that question. So I guess you would see the demand, the push for sustainability agriculture is there. But if you look at the whole movements towards meeting the sustainability goal and etc., you would see in between the greenwashing. Greenwashings mean under the label of sustainability, there will be discrepancies. There will be mismanagement, there will be manipulations of science, which is not finally contributing to environment and the social economic aspect, which is where that I thought, if you bring in halal, because it's more detailed, there is a spiritual component to it. There is the add-on. Because if you do that, you may not be able to differentiate between with the others, with the non-Muslim countries, with developed countries who are doing it. But if you insert in the Islamic perspective, the halal perspective, that will be the difference. So I just want to add that will be the kind, because we know that now the evolution is towards that. But how do we make competitive difference between us and the others? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Dr. That is to attain the mardatillah, the blessing of Allah.
Yeah.
That's the point there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we're going to be ending soon our seminar session. So let's thank again Dr. Zaina for your sharing of knowledge. Thank you, Dr. Asma as well, for all the insights and knowledge. Thank you everyone for listening and taking in this new knowledge as we unlearn, relearn, apa dia tadi?
Co-learn.
co-learn and inshallah we help to co-create. Actually, it's just we are doing our part as a servant and Khalifah of Allah. And because there are many of us here in this virtual space, these are, as I say again, the future leaders. So we hope that this all the small effort that we do will translate into a bigger impact in the future, inshallah. So let's end with tasbih kifarah and suratul as. Okay, thank you everyone again. We hope to see everyone again, inshallah, in our next webinar series. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
And to some who was
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilaik.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.